We're holding today's meeting at the Dennett Road Educational Complex. The board will recess into executive session following this announcement. We hope to come back by 6 o'clock. Under Section 3-305B of the General Provisions, Article of the Maryland Annotated Code, there are two reasons the board will go into closed session this evening: to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, any other personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on a legal matter. Specifically, the topics tonight will be 3-305B1. Topics including certificated staffing recommendations, superintendent evaluation timeline, and personnel update. 3-7, topic including warehouse property on 8th Street. Discussed in closed session instead of open as follows. Personnel topics to 3-305B1 disclosed above will be considered in closed session rather than open session because they include a discussion of specific employees, which is a confidential employment matter. The legal topics pursuant to 3-305B7 disclosed above will be considered in closed session rather than open session because the board will be receiving specific legal advice from counsel, which is protected by attorney. Hearing all, are there any objections to going into executive session? Having none, is there a motion? So move it on.
Second.
Second by Sadie. Discussion. All those in favor of going into executive session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And we are now in executive session. Good evening. Welcome to the June 10th regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting. Thank you for coming this evening. First order of business will be, I'll ask you to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by our student board member. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Cadence. Take a motion to approve the public agenda as presented. So move it on.
Second.
Second by Sadie. Discussion. All those in favor of the public agenda as stated, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the agenda is adopted. Motion for the consent agenda. So moved by Don.
Second.
Seconded by Rodney. All those in favor of the consent agenda, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And the consent agenda is approved. Would remind everyone that we no longer read closed session summaries or announcements. Certainly all of those are on our Board of Education page, and we encourage each of you to look at that if you have questions about anything that the board is doing. The National Board Certified Teachers, of which I see several here. So first of all, congratulations to each of you. And secondly, we're going to give you a plaque commemorating tonight. I'll ask Ms. Lillard to read your names. Once you get your plaque from the superintendent and Dr. Miller are going to give those out, would you come up to the stage? We'd like to get a nice picture. All right.
Okay. National Board Certification is a professional certification available in education. And provides numerous benefits to teachers, students, and schools. It was designed to develop and retain and recognize accomplished teachers and to generate ongoing improvement in schools nationwide. The founding mission of the National Board is to advance the quality of teaching and learning by maintaining high and rigorous standards for what accomplished teachers should know and be able to do, providing a national voluntary system certifying teachers who meet these standards, and advocating related education reforms to integrate National Board certification into American education and to capitalize on the expertise of National Board certified teachers. Recognized as the gold standard in teacher certification, the National Board believes higher standards for teachers means better learning for students. Candidates must demonstrate advanced knowledge, skills, and practice in their individual certificate area by completing 4 components: 3 portfolio entries and a computer-based assessment. Since 2000, Garrett County Public Schools has had 42 teachers who have obtained National Board Certification status. Currently, there are 34 educators that hold a National Board certificate in our school system. So, congratulations.
Congratulations.
And the first person is Amanda Love, Mathematics, Adolescence, and Young Adulthood. She's a math teacher at Northern Garrett High School. Okay. Amber McCauley, Generalist, Middle Childhood, 5th grade teacher at Yucklades Elementary School. Becky Yost, Career and Technical Education, agricultural teacher at Northern Garrett High School. Brittany German, Generalist, Middle Childhood, 5th grade teacher at Crellin Elementary School. Florence Friend, Exceptional Needs Specialist, Early Childhood through Young Adulthood. She's a special ed teacher at Yucklades Elementary. Jennifer Roball, Generalist, Middle Childhood, 4th grade teacher at Crellin Elementary School. Jennifer Wampler, Art, Early Adolescence through Young Adulthood, Adult teacher, Art teacher at Northern Middle School. Kim Paul, Generalist, Early Childhood, Intervention teacher at Grantsville Elementary School. Larry Krupa, Mathematics, Adolescence, and Young Adulthood, math teacher at Southern High School. Lori Bisonhouse, Exceptional Needs Specialist, Early Childhood through Young Adulthood, Special Education math teacher at Southern Garrett High School. Mitchell Hall, Social Studies, History, Early Adolescence, Assistant Principal at Broadford Elementary School. Robin Naselrod, Generalist, Middle Childhood, 5th grade teacher at Crellin Elementary School. Steve Knepp, Physical Education, Early and Middle Childhood, Physical Education teacher at Broadford Elementary School.
Everyone?
That's it. She's not on this list, but she's on this other list. She's not on. Okay, Susan Friend, Generalist, Early Childhood, Intervention teacher at Crellin Elementary School. She was on this list, but not this one.
Take them all the way back. You guys go all the way back to the curtain. It kept going off, but now it's staying on, so I don't know, maybe it was just a blip. Battery just in case. Every time I would. Trying to get on, it would go off, but then, as soon as I told Mark, it started working. Dr. Wilson, would you stand right there, please? Would you stand right here, please? We have one more. We have one more presentation. If you guys want to stick around for like 1 minute. That's almost like being a football coach again. We would like to express our appreciation as a Board of Education to Dr. Jane Wilderson for outstanding service to the Garrett County Public Schools. Whereas the Garrett County Board of Education and Superintendent Dr. Brenda McCartney wish to formally recognize and express deep appreciation for the outstanding leadership and dedicated service to Dr. Jane Wilderson. And whereas Dr. Wilderson has dedicated 35 years of exemplary service to the students, staff, families of Garrett County Public Schools as Director of Human Resources, Director of Elementary Education, Principal, Assistant Principal, Curriculum Coordinator, and Teacher. Whereas Dr. Wilderson provided outstanding leadership and contributions to the Human Resources Department, fostering a positive work environment and supporting the professional growth of countless employees. And whereas Dr. Wilderson has been instrumental in implementing programming throughout GCPS, most notably the Learning Beyond the Classroom bus, updated policies, served on multiple committees, initiated an overhaul of the employee benefits program, and whereas Dr. Wilderson has been a trusted advisor, compassionate colleague, tireless advocate for GCPS mission and values, earning the respect and admiration of those who have the privilege of working alongside her. And whereas Dr. Wilderson's leadership during times of growth and challenge has strengthened the district's capacity to recruit, retain, and develop exceptional employees, thereby directly supporting student success. And whereas Dr. Wilderson worked hard to collaborate with all other superintendents, board members, staff members, community members, she valued the input of those stakeholders, understanding that involving each group would help GCPS make the best decisions for the school system. Let it be known that Dr. Jane Wilderson leaves behind a legacy of dedicated service and positive impact on Garrett County Public Schools and its employees. And furthermore, since gratitude and best wishes are extended to Dr. Wilderson for a happy, healthy, and fulfilling retirement, therefore, we, the Board of Education of Garrett County, and the Superintendent, do hereby commend Dr. Wilderson for years of education, dedication, and outstanding service to the Garrett County Public Schools. I said at the retirement dinner the other night, it took me years to remember to say Jane Wilderson because that's always been Jane Bell since I've known her. I knew her since she was 6 years old probably. So it's really hard to ever get to Wilderson. But Jane, thank you so very much. And obviously the Learning Beyond the Classroom bus has special recognition for us. So thank you. Okay, let's move on. Special Education Staffing Plan is an action item tonight. And Dr. Angus will make that presentation. And if you need to leave, see you guys.
Well, look at this. Kelsey's like,
I don't believe Mom would sit through all this either. But
Okay, ready? So you have been provided the 25-26 projected special education staffing plan. You will see some slight variances. This is really based on the number of students with disabilities as of, you can see at the top of the paper, May 26, 25. So these numbers do fluctuate throughout the year as we have students enter and exit our program.
yeah, I think I'm on. What goes into deciding whether it becomes an 8-to-1 ratio, a 10-to-1, a 20-to-1, whatever? I mean, what kind of, you look, I just look at numbers, but you make those decisions based on, I'm sure, a lot of things. What kinds of things?
Yeah. So the ratios when we're looking at strictly teachers, instructional assistants, and special ed students can sometimes be a little misleading because as we know, we have students that we serve in our county that have very differing needs. So we could have a student with 1 hour of academic services and we may not have another student with 10 academic hours of services. So this is really a guide that we use in place when we look at the ratios, but also when we do our special ed budget meetings and analysis of staffing, we're really breaking it down by what are those service hours by school, what are those needs by school, and then of course going down to the individual student level and looking at what support's needed there.
So if the ratio is higher, it's probably because the service hours aren't as needed.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And you will see that a lot with our schools that have split positions. So when we're looking at some of our 50-50 positions or our other positions that are split, that is a little bit more prevalent when we're looking at ratio formulas. But yes, it is always the expectation that those service hours are covered in those buildings.
I should have asked first. My fault. We need a recommendation from the superintendent before we can have discussion. So that's on me.
All right. My recommendation is to approve the special education staffing plan for the 2025-26 school year as presented.
Superintendent is asking that we approve the 2025-26 special education staffing plan as presented. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Rodney. Second by Don. Don, we can now have discussion. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, great. There's a motion on the floor to adopt the presentation of the special education projections by school. Superintendent's made a recommendation. There is a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And it is adopted. Next is Special Education Citizens Advisory Committee presentation. Dr. Mangus, once again.
Yeah. So this is something that I'm very passionate about speaking to when we're looking at what we do in special education. And this is really a direct relationship with our community and their advocacy for students with disabilities, as well as our parents and educators. So this is a report that we're required to give every year to our board to really inform you of our advisory committee and some of the recommendations that we've received throughout the year specific to special education and the work we've done in that area. So if you go to the second slide here. So CCAC, as I stated, is really an advisory committee to our special education department as well as the Board of Education. It really is to promote community awareness about how we support our students with disabilities and as well as a countywide input. We, like I said, are required to provide this to you all to really advocate for our students with disabilities in our school system as well as in the community. So when we look at topics from this past school year, we have a variety of areas that we cover. One of them being our officers. So our officers is our board that's made up of teachers, parents, and regular members of those meetings. We of course talked a lot about the Blueprint for Maryland's Future and Pillar 4 and how that impacts our students instructionally during the school day. We looked at special education data review, looking at not only state testing, but our specially designed instruction fidelity checks that we're doing throughout the school year, our iReady diagnostic assessments. We're also looking at state indicator data that we get specifically for special education. We looked at the Maryland Parent Information Series, which is a 4-booklet information series that's better informed about the IEP process and walking through that journey of a student with a disability. We've looked at the Maryland Parent Involvement Survey, which I'll share with you in a minute on the next slide. We also talked to parents about specific trainings they want. We've talked to community members about what trainings they want for their businesses or what better supports we could provide to the community atmosphere. If you guys remember last year, we did the whole EMS, paramedic, fire department training. So really looking at that expansion into the community. We also talked a lot about our Special Olympics partnership. As you guys know, we do a lot of unified sports here in Garrett County, the first county to implement it at the elementary level. We also did the Cool Schools Dunk. We have our high schools that are banner recognized as well as Northern Middle. We're working on that for elementary as well. We implemented 2 torch runs this year at both of our middle and high schools. And then we also have some summer events with Special Olympics for our students. So a big focus on Special Olympics this year. We talked about outside agencies and organizations, some instructional initiatives in special education, and then, of course, our events. So the next slide really highlights some of those events. One of the points of feedback we got from some of our parents through these CCAC advisory committees was additional support in the area of behavior. So we held a training last summer with our BCBAs being the provider of that training, where we had families came in, we worked with them in a whole group setting, and also broke it down individually to provide individual coaching for the children and their families on supporting some of those behavioral needs. We were also able to provide our families with a lot of the resources to take home, such as visual schedules, first then charts, reinforcement, and so forth. Then we had our back to school bash to kind of kick off the year. That's usually one of our biggest events. As you can see, we almost had 150 participants in there, so that's a really good turnout for us. And then the other 4 events here are CCAC meetings. You can see that we always try to tie them to a family fun event, so that there's also engagement activities and enrichment activities for the students while we're there. So for example, when we're at the CARC, we'll also talk a lot about water safety and the importance of that, especially for students with disabilities, and provide them resources in that area. So then kind of some of the results of those trainings and events. Every year we are flagged on what MSCE refers to as our Indicator 8 data. So this is information regarding how our parents feel that they are supported in our school system, specific to students with disabilities. And so when you look at this, and I apologize, it's a little small here, but the left column is the state target, the right column is the Garrett County Public Schools data. And as you can see, we met 23 out of the 24 indicators, which is an extremely high rate. Last year we were at the same number, 23 out of 24, and we were really hoping to get 100%, which I think is non-existent across the state, but I definitely think we hold the highest rating for that.
What percentage of parents took the survey? What's your?
So our participation rate, that's a really good question, is right around 20%. So we're not getting as much feedback as we like, but that's kind of the nature of the survey, which is actually higher than the state average as far as participation. So yeah, as you can see, the one indicator we did not meet was that parents feel that they are provided information about agencies that assist their child. So what we did was we took that data and we really focused our initiatives in that area to really make sure we're providing parents that support based on that feedback. So when we go to the next slide here, these are some of the things that we implemented this year. These are all lunch and learns, so that's the L and L there. But what we decided to do was we got a lot of feedback from parents that they preferred trainings during the day while their children are in school. They prefer it during the lunch hour for parents that are working. And so what we did was we implemented these 4 lunch and learns focused on these outside agencies that support our students in school, but also outside of school. So we looked at the Western Maryland Consortium, Appalachian Crossroads, Garrett College, Resources for Independence, and really kind of hit those areas. And then we also had a secondary transition fair, which we have done annually, but we really did a lot of press on that. We invited our parents to that. We had over 20 agencies there, some of which we did the lunch and learns with, but additional agencies and businesses in our community that really shared what services and supports they can provide our families. We talked about career, technical opportunities for our students, as well as college and career readiness. So that was really a big push for us this year to really get that response rate up, and is where a lot of our focus landed. As we look into next school year, we are looking at a speech and language training this summer. We've had a lot of increase in our speech and language services, which is also a national trend right now. So we're going to do some training with our families this summer on how to embed that and continue with some of our meetings that we did this year as well. Are there any questions?
Anybody? Yeah, I just have one other question. And maybe you don't know the answer to this. Do you see that the community schools, that are community schools, do you see that there's more involvement there among parents that you're serving?
Yeah, I don't have data for that, but what I will say is, being a parent of a child at a community school, there are a lot of opportunities to be involved. And so similar to the activities that we provide specific to students with disabilities, we're able to really target fun, engaging activities that are family oriented, which is certainly, I mean, I will speak to the accolades, but we have seen a lot of families come out for those events.
It would seem that the community schools would be a great vehicle to get that information that they say they're not getting
Yes,
from the school system.
yes,
Because
yes.
you have an audience there.
Right. And so I try to attend some of those community schools meetings with our community school-based specialists there and really share some of that information as well. So, for example, Yaklades, especially being our ALO center school, they shot a lot of that information for us as well, specific to special education. Yeah. We also collaborate a lot with Judy Center and putting a lot of that information out at those events as well.
Right.
And we also partner with Judy Center for a lot. So, for example, when they did their trunk or treating at the fairgrounds, they also did a sensory friendly hour where we invited specifically our families out and more of a quieter, not as many families atmosphere.
But didn't the Judy Center have a guest speaker in the spring? They had a
Yes.
weekend thing.
Yeah, so that was Dr. Andrew Nelson, who's an autism specialist who we also consult with. He has done family trainings for us in the past. He's done teacher trainings, but yes, he did a Judy Center training as well.
Okay, thank you so very much. Good great job, yeah. All right, warehouse on 8th Street. This is an action item, and so I assume you're going to make the first presentation, and then we will ask for a recommendation before we ask questions. Okay, Mr. Witt, go ahead.
So the warehouse property on 8th Street, we're no longer utilizing that property. And I wanted to make the suggestion that we take it out of our inventory of buildings.
Okay. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, my recommendation is to approve the declaration of the warehouse property at 102 North 8th Street as surplus.
Okay, the superintendent's recommendation is that we declare the 8th Street property as surplus. Is there a motion as such? So moving on. Second by Matt. Discussion. What happens if we pass that and it's excess property, then what happens?
So the property will go back to the ownership of the county commissioners.
We will go through a little bit of a process, as Mr. Hoover has advised us. Thank you. We will, now that the board has declared the property surplus, we need to communicate with the state superintendent and with the IAC before proceeding.
There's nothing in that building any longer. Is there anything in that building?
No, we've been pulling everything out over the last couple of months.
Questions? Anyone? Okay, there's a motion and a second on the floor to declare the 8th Street, 102 North 8th Street property as surplus property. All those in favor of the recommendation of the superintendent, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And it is approved. Okay, the Master Educational Facilities Master Plan is an action item tonight. And again, Mr. Witt will make that presentation.
Okay. So the Educational Facilities Master Plan's been updated. Last month when I presented to you, we were still awaiting a document from the Maryland Department of Planning. And what that document is it's just documentation from the Maryland Department of Planning confirming that Garrett County's enrollment projections are within 5% of the state projections, and they are. So we have that final paperwork. All changes from last year are in red, so that it's easier for you to see what has changed from previous years. I believe that's the only change for this month.
Yes, I think so too. Superintendent, recommendation?
My recommendation is to approve the 2025 Educational Facilities Master Plan as presented.
Okay, superintendent's asking for a motion to approve the FY 25-26 Facilities Master Plan as presented. Motion? So moved by Rodney. Second by Don. Discussion? Questions? Concerns? I know the glossary was added, some of those words that we use due to the blueprint.
Yes.
That's kind of strange to everyone, unless they use them every day. So thank you for doing that. Anything else? Okay, motion on the floor to adopt FY 25-26 Facilities Master Plan. Those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. And it is adopted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Student handbook for 25-26. Dr. Miller looks like she's going to make that presentation. And this is also an action item.
Good evening. I'm here to present the student handbook for action tonight for approval for the 25-26 school year.
Recommendation by the superintendent.
My recommendation is to approve the student handbook with the 25-26 school year.
Superintendent is asking us to approve the 25-26 student handbook for upcoming school year. Need a motion?
I'll move to approve it.
Motion by Rodney. Second. With no second, does not move forward.
Okay, I'll second.
Thank you.
There's now a second.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah.
Reluctantly.
Now we can have discussion perhaps. Are there any concerns with the student handbook?
I had my concern last meeting, but my issues are stuff that the state's mandating us put in, so moot point.
It's the law at the moment. Anything else? Okay, there is a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the FY 25-26 student handbook for the upcoming year. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those not in favor signify by saying nay. And the chair is an aye. It is approved. And we have no public comment. Yeah, but we can come back to it, I suppose. We're already,
We have the budget.
yeah, we have the budget
Are we
next.
doing
Yeah.
the budget?
Yep. We're straight to the budget. So the last order of business is the FY 25-26 operating budget, and this is an item for action tonight.
So, before we get started on presenting.
Yeah,
the
I would,
budget-
yeah, let me interrupt you for a second. We did have a consent agenda tonight, which means that we did do some personnel work. So I would ask the superintendent to tell us the latest personnel move that we've made.
The latest personnel move made by the Board of Education is the appointment of Mrs. Ashley Glodfeldy as our new Director of Finance.
Congratulations, and thank you. Thank you first, congratulations second.
And I'll just say a couple words. I'm not going to embarrass her a whole lot because I know she doesn't want me to. But I do know that we are very privileged to have Mrs. Glodfeldy take on this role. I know the board has full confidence in her abilities, and certainly I have full confidence in her abilities to keep us financially sound as we are presenting a budget on preliminary numbers tonight. But Mrs. Gladfeldy has been with the system for a number of years, and I am just very pleased that she is available to take on this role. And thank you to the board for supporting that recommendation. So, we'll do the budget.
We will.
And I'll preface, and Mrs. Gladfeldy and I have gone through this a little bit as to how we're going to do this tonight. We still do not have final numbers from the state on our revenue. We're used to having a little delay on some of our federal revenue grants, but we usually have the state revenue firmed up by now. So what we are doing is really highlighting a couple things from our presentation last month, a couple changes that we've made in the budget with our preliminary numbers. I will be recommending to the board at the end of this to approve the budget, acknowledging that we may very well have to come back with some adjustments to the budget once we get our final revenue numbers from the state. So I'll turn it over to Ashley.
I would say, I think as a way to, in case there are questions as we go through, certainly please address those questions before we get to a recommendation so that all of that housekeeping is out of the way.
Wonderful.
And we don't have to go back and redo everything, and certainly ensure that you are, as board members, satisfied with what we're going to pass, because this is one of the three things that we control. And so we need to ensure that we understand it.
I'm just going to highlight the pages that changed since the last proposed budget book that you had received. On page 25, there was a total decrease in the restricted revenue. It went from 7.187 million to 6.985 million. And then on page 27, that is where the detail for the restricted revenue is showing. So the Title I had the largest decrease. It was about a $200,000 decrease. We weren't expecting that large of a decrease in Title I, but that's what our preliminary numbers are showing.
So if I can just interrupt on that, since we're talking about Title I, a little over 200,000 decrease, and that grant's pretty significant for us. Our plan in working as a team and with our chief academic officer is to sort of work within the system to, we did not add any positions. Title I is a heavy position grant meant to support students throughout the system. All of our elementary schools are Title I schools, so they receive some funding through Title I. What we are doing, because we also have a decline in enrollment, about 100 students at this point, is we will be reassigning staff to still meet the needs of our students, but working within the Title I projections as we're doing our staffing for next school year.
No, that's okay. And then also on that page under 520 special ed pass-through, there was just a small decrease, a little over 10,000, and under 521 special ed discretionary cluster, it was less than $50. Then if you look at the other pages on page 35, 37, and 38, the small decrease and the restricted revenue flows back to those pages. You'll see the revised 6.985 million
me.
For the restricted revenue.
Just wanted to wake everyone up, make sure nobody's.
So, and that was just due to the Title I and the special ed changes for that. There was also another on page 120. There was just a titling change under the stipends for teachers. It changed from teacher leader pilot to school improvement support teachers. And then on pages 186 and 187, there was a decrease in the budget detail and allocation for Title I. So the $200,000 was just reallocated for the Title I on page 186. And then on 187, that was for the special ed pass-through and the special ed preschool pass-through. Those were just reallocated for the minor changes in restricted revenue. And then on page 188, the actual total revenue for those grants did not change. It was just the reallocation by category, because at the time of our first budget proposal to the board, we did not have finalized numbers from the state yet.
So what I would like to follow up what Ashley has shared with a couple statements about our staffing. I mentioned a moment ago that we are predicting around 100 students fewer in the county next year. So looking at our staffing guidelines and looking towards our future, one of the things that we will be doing, we have a central office position that will become vacant mid-year due to a retirement. We will not, and it's in the instructional area, we will not be replacing that position. We will be redistributing those duties to other people on staff. So that in essence, by next year, this year it'll be a half position for the entire year, but next year will be a position down in central office staff. The other thing that we are doing is looking very carefully with Dr. Miller and her staff, her team, looking at our staffing at each of our schools. We will be doing some transfers from one school to another to meet our student needs in various locations. We will be doing some hiring. I don't want anyone out there to think we're not hiring. Look at our website. We have positions advertised because we do have people who are leaving the system through retirement or for other reasons, relocation. So we will be bringing some names to the board to fill positions, but at the same time, doing our best to meet student needs without increasing full-time positions. Anything else?
Well, I was just gonna say that the glossary of terms and acronyms at the end of the book, they were revised as requested.
Okay. Questions, concerns? Anybody have, no, I sent the superintendent, I don't know, 8 or 10 questions. She answered those for each of us in terms of differences. Go ahead, Don.
Do you have any projection on when the state is going to give you some numbers?
No. We hear often that they will be here tomorrow. So we'll see. We will definitely be updating. I would think we will have them soon. Of course, I thought that last week. but I think the board could look forward to an update on our budget at our July board meeting.
Anyone else? Questions, concerns about the budget? Okay, you want to make a recommendation?
My recommendation is to approve the budget as presented, the operating budget for the fiscal 26, for the,
Yes.
yes, the
FY26.
fiscal 26 year.
Okay, Superintendent's asking, with her recommendation for us to adopt the FY '26 proposed budget as presented to us. Is there a motion as such? So move it on. Second by Sadie. Any further discussion? Anyone? Okay, Superintendent has made a recommendation. It's been motion and second to adopt the FY '26 proposed operating budget as our official budget. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. And it is the operating budget for FY '26. Thank you again, Ashley, for all your hard work and everybody in your department and throughout, certainly central office. Everybody has a part of that, but ultimately, you have the major part. So thank you.
I would just like to thank my finance team. They were instrumental in pulling this together, and I really appreciate their help.
Well, thank you. This is probably one of the biggest things we do all year, is come to some realization as to how we're going to make it all happen next year. So again, thank you so much.
I just want to say good job. This has been a challenging budget year, to say the least, with the increases that were required by the blueprint and the cuts in some of our funding. So you guys did a remarkable job in balancing this budget so far. We don't know yet what's going to happen, but so far so good. Okay, good. You're going to get more money, right?
Thank you. I'm not sure, Karen, do we have anyone who wants to speak? Yeah, no, he did, she did, they didn't give me a sheet, so I didn't know if you wanted to speak or just showing up. Okay. Garrett County Board of Education is pleased to receive comments and ideas from our public pertaining to the policies, procedures, and/or practices of the school system. We ask that comments be limited to a maximum time of 3 minutes per individual unless otherwise considered by the board president. There will be no discussion or action taken at the meeting, but may be considered at a future meeting. Issues that are specific to individual employees should be referred to the immediate supervisor for appropriate and consideration review. Rude, slanderous, threatening remarks, or other behavior that is disruptive or interferes with the order of the meeting will not be permitted. Topics excluded from public comment are individual personnel issues, comments identifying individual students or staff members, matters that are on appeal or may be appealed or have been appealed, topics for which the Board of Education schedules formal public hearings, and lastly, advertising or solicitation for products and or services. And Mr. Henderson, you are the only speaker, and it's about charter funding.
First off, I want to make it clear. Charter school funding does not cost the budget a nickel. Every single teacher, every single student is under the direction, under the supervision of the Garrett County Board of Education. Okay, so we know that. If you fund the school or don't fund the school, it doesn't affect your budget by a nickel. Except for the fact that the charter school is only financed at 98% of what every other student would get. That number is then farther reduced as low as 75%. The last time I spoke before this board, you were concerned about law, because legislation was a rather obscure bill with an obscure sideways reference to 300 students. It never stood a chance of passing, but legislature's out, so we don't have to worry about that any longer. There was also concern about MSDE said that they were going to clarify their December ruling. They have since clarified that. The clarity is that the December ruling is the gold standard for financing a charter school. It has been 15 months that the school had its application approved, and still they have not received the funding. Will we have a charter school this September, or will we have a bunch of excuses about why we can't do it that year? It's got to be another year. That is, I mean, seriously, this is going on too long. If they are going to open in September, they need to be granted the funding now so that they can start planning for it. It's not even going to cost you money, just permission to go ahead and start.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
They need permission to start planning for a school opening in the fall. It costs you nothing. And yet, for 15 months, we've been dragging along and not getting an answer here. The time has come. Finance the charter school, give them permission to go ahead and open. I guess that's it.
The superintendent will address a couple of the things that you brought
Okay.
up, because there are new bits of information, obviously.
Well, I just want to, just a couple.
Sure.
And the school was never slated to open this fall. The school is slated by the charter agreement that our board approved, and has contingencies in that agreement that the charter school board and our staff are working together to ensure are met so that the school can open the following school year as a charter school. It is not set to be open next year. So that's something that needs to be considered. We are working with the charter board, reviewing their responses to the contingencies. We are slated to begin working with them soon on their budget. And Dr. Miller can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that their budget is due sometime in October as a forecast for opening the following year. So from my perspective, with all due respect, in working with the charter school and working with their board, working with the approved agreement, looking at the contingencies, if everything is met according to the contract, we should be fine for the 26-27 school year. That was the agreement that was made with the board, and we have responsibility to follow that agreement, and we'll be doing so. We just received from the state late last week a document from the state superintendent and the state board looking at charter school funding. We will be reading that document. Mrs. Glodfeldy, Dr. Miller, and I will read it. We will decipher it, and we will work with the board to see that those guidelines are followed. They also have a group working at the state on the side to finalize some of that guidance. But again, our plan is to continue working with the charter board to meet the agreement deadlines. Those contingencies have dates attached to them, and we are working with them to move forward with the possibility.
Thank you. Okay. So hopefully that
Thank you.
clarifies where we are and where we hope to land. Obviously, it has always been the board's desire, Mr. Henderson, for that to be a charter school. And we'll do everything we can to facilitate that, but within the confines of the agreement that we've signed with them.
Can I use the 40 seconds?
Sure, you sure can.
In November, you were going to close the school, withdraw the charter application for lack of funding. Is that correct? And that funding that it was lacking was based on the idea that you would not fund them at the legal amount. That's why the charter agreement was modified in the first place. If it had been given the full amount with the original application, there would have been no delay in November. This has become very frustrating. It was with the November meeting that it was decided to renegotiate until a later date.
The only thing that I'll address is certainly those items have been worked out with the three people that the superintendent discussed with the board, with that charter, of which none of us are members of that. So those have been ongoing decisions and negotiations between those entities. Anything else? You have anything else, Superintendent?
No,
No.
no, thank you.
Thank you.
On that.
Thank. Okay, Cadence.
We good?
Yes, you're good.
All right. Thank you. Is my okay? That's on. So with it wrapping up the school year, us only having 2 more days until the students' last day, I do not have much to report on student activities as teachers, staff, and administrators in the school building are wrapping up our activities for the end of the year. As far as student reports, our seniors had graduated last weekend. Was it last weekend, I believe? I was fortunate to attend both of those ceremonies. Another thing that the students participated in is the students in the first Bright Bite kids traveled to California for the World Championship, and they placed 7th out of several teams, which is amazing. And then the SHS 8th grade raised $2,400 to help the classrooms affected by the floods in Westernport. And then I know that we talked about Special Olympics tonight, and Northern High School and Southern High School recently hosted their torch runs to support Special Olympics throughout the county. As far as student council, we have all basically wrapped up what we're working on this year. We wanted to get a jump head start, so our County Association of Student Councils held their first executive board meeting. We got to meet with the new officers, select our appointed staff for the following school year, and then set out our plan for the 25-26 school year. As far as my initiatives, I'm going to overlook my term, and then I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve again as a student member for next school year. I got to attend Swan Meadows open house. I said I attended both graduations, and I think that that's all I have.
You ruined my next line. My next line was, this is Cadence's last time with us today. This fulfills her obligation as a student member. The good news is she's going to do it again. Unbeknownst to her last month, we had already interviewed 2 excellent students. I mean, really excellent students. And we decided that Cadence has done an incredible job, and we'd like for her to come back another year. So congratulations on coming back. Board members. Yeah, we all kind of went to the same things. Graduation, did go to Northern's awards day and Southern's awards evening, and those were incredible. And we had a wonderful retirement dinner the other night with some very heartfelt things. So put a lot into our system. So this is kind of our season as board members these last 3 weeks. So again, we've all enjoyed being a part of that. Sadie.
With graduation, I just think it's so nice where the location is and that the students are up on stage and that they can be seen by their parents, because it's all about them. It's not about us in the audience other than the parents who help get the kids through school. I just think it's a great location, and I love being able to see the students up on stage.
Anything else? Anyone? Board members? Okay, Superintendent, your updates.
All of my updates are about dates. Because the next 2 days, June 11th and June 12th, as a reminder to our parents, are 3-hour early dismissals for our students. And Friday, well, Thursday will then be the last day for students. Friday will be a professional day for our staff. Report cards are slated to be posted on June the 19th for the 4th grading period. And then I want to remind the public that our administrative offices and schools will operate on a condensed summer schedule beginning June the 16th and continuing through August 22nd. So our hours of operation will be 7 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, with all facilities closed on Fridays. And I'll just close by wishing all of our students, our teachers, our instructional staff, everyone a very well-deserved break for the summer, and to thank everyone for the level of work from both students and staff throughout this school year. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate everything that everyone has done. Certainly, it is pretty amazing. I will now take a motion to adjourn. So move. Second by Matt. All those in favor of adjourning the public session, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. And we are adjourned.